I'm going to turn it to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to be making some fun jewelry with UV resin. And if you are a beginner to jewelry making or to UV resin, then this is the class for you. You're going to learn a lot. We're going to show you different tips, techniques, all the supplies that you need to get started making jewelry with UV resin today. My name is Stephanie Menor. I will be your teacher today, and let's get started. We're going to switch to the top-down camera, take a look at some of the earrings that we're going to make. And these, of course, are 3 pairs of earrings, but these same techniques can be applied to charms, bracelets, necklaces, and all sorts of fun things. So let me just move this out of the way and give you a closer peek at these earrings. So they are all black and white. This is the first earring that we're going to make, and it has some glitter in there, and up at the top is a real dried flower. And then we are going to take on some marbling techniques with this hoop earring. You can see the front and the back of it. Kind of get a different look of it on the back. And then finally, this is a little bit of a more advanced earring. It has some wires that we're placing in the middle to make these separations and a bead at the top. So we'll show you how to do all of these things. Let's move these out of the way and talk about the supplies that you need. And the very first supply is a bottle of UV resin. So this is the magic stuff that makes it all happen. This is a clear liquid that pours out into molds, which all of the pieces we're making today are made with silicone molds, and then it hardens in UV light. So here's my UV light. It's a little lamp like this. I can hit the button. You can see the lights come on. This is a 9-watt UV light. It plugs into a USB power source, and I'll tell you a little more about that lamp in a minute. This is the big bottle. This is the biggest one you can get at Michael's. Everything we're working with today is sold at Michael's. This is the medium size. So this is 200 milliliters. This is 60 milliliters. So you can get an idea in size difference here. So there are lots of sizes of it available to you, whether you're just starting out and wanted to try it, or get the big bottle if you want the best deal. Next, we have some silicone molds. I'm going to show you this one in the package. This is what the packaging looks like for all of the items. It's the blue package in the jewelry making aisle. This is a special mold though, because it comes with some bonus things down here, some little pieces of wood. And those pieces of wood are perfectly sized to go into these mold pieces. But we are not using the wood today. We are just going to be using this mold. Here's a closer look at that mold. And you can see it says here on the side, maybe if the camera focuses, it says Blue Moon Studio on the side. You'll also notice flexibility here, how flexible this is, and how opaque, sorry, not opaque, transparent it is. It is not opaque. This is an opaque silicone mold. You can see it is still flexible, but this is opaque. You do not, this is an X, do not use with UV resin. It needs to be transparent for the UV resin to work correctly and for the light to penetrate all the way through. Okay, so we have molds. We have some basic jewelry tools that you're going to need. A fine nose plier, a round nose plier. We'll show you how to do those, and some type of a little wire cutter. You're going to need that as well. We have some tints. This is the way we add color to our UV resin. We're going to be using black and white. And I also have a few different silicone bowls. You'll notice a lot of things are made of silicone when using UV resin. And that is because the cured resin, it doesn't stick to silicone. So it peels right off, makes it very easy. We also have some dried flowers. We'll get these out. And a few assorted findings. We have some eye pins, jump rings, some earring backs, and some wire. Also, don't forget about some toothpicks or wood sticks. And I always have a paper towel off to the side to wipe that off in between so I don't get resin everywhere. All right, so we might pull out some other things along the way, but let's get started with our first project, which is going to be this simple earring. So that earring is made with this mold. Move that off to the side. So this mold is specifically earring shapes. So you have the arch and the rounded rectangle. And then you have these two little circles there that are perfect for the earring topper. But you will notice that this circle is a lot bigger than this one. This earring topper shape works wonderfully with these, but if you want a little bit of a bigger circle in order to use a bigger dried flower, I'm going to show you a little trick here. This is super secret free molds. So here's another silicone mold I want to show you. This is our ring mold. So the ring, you find a ring. Here's an example of a ring that it makes. This makes 6 different size rings, anywhere from size 5 through 9 or 4 through 9, I think. And so you can make some really fun rings with it. But as a special bonus, if you turn it over, these voids in here, suddenly you have 6 different shapes of plain circles that you can use as molds on the bottom. So always look on the bottom of your molds. There may be some voids in the bottom that kind of gives you a little extra bonus. So this shape was made with one of these voids. So little pro tip for you, turn your molds over, check out the bottom of them. Okay, so we're going to be using this one. Let's bring in our silicone cup. And we are going to go straight in with some resin. And I am going to pour kind of a bunch of it because we're going to be using this black resin. So you would probably not need that much if you are just creating one pair of earrings. I'm going to also add some tint. This is the black tint. And I'm going to give it a good shake. And with the tints, go easy. They are very concentrated. So I'm just going to add 3 dots in there. And that's actually a lot. You should start with one little drop when you're using less resin. Then I have some really pretty black glitter. Let's open this up and we are going to pour it in there. And pour as much as you like. It's really up to you if you want slightly more opaque or if you want more translucent, more or less sparkle. And here's where you bring in that wood stick and let's give it a good stir. So I see some comments posted up here. And the comment I see from Kimberly, thank you for your question. Her question is it a special tint to use with resin? And the answer is yes, it is a special tint to use with UV resin, but those tints are not the only thing that can add color to resin. You can add colored glitter if you like that sort of thing, like I do. You can add a very teensy little bit of acrylic paint, and that will tint it. But the best tint available are ones that are made specifically for the UV resin. All right, so you can see what we have here. Really pretty gloppy resin. Here's where I use my paper towel. I'm gonna wipe that off. And we are gonna pour straight in. We're gonna use this one. And these silicone cups are great because you can squeeze and it gives you a little funnel. And just pour it directly in there. And when you are using a mold, as I am here, just know that you're going to have a perfect side and a not so perfect side. Okay, that is almost filled to the top. The perfect side of any mold is the underneath side. That's going to be the side that has like the perfect edges and the nice smoothness. So keep that in mind as you're creating, that the bottom part is the part that you want to make perfect. So at this point, I just go in with a stick. I'm kind of just going around the edges. I can maybe poke at it a little bit. The whole reason for doing this is just making sure that I didn't miss any, like there's no air bubbles in there. It doesn't feel like there are. And if you notice, I didn't fill it all the way to the top. And the reason for that is this is a very, very dark color. UV resin works by curing in light. So the darker the tinted resin or the more stuff you have in there, the longer it takes to cure. So here I'm going to bring my light in, hit the button. You can see that turns on, and this will run for 1 minute and will automatically turn off. And then we can run it for a few more minutes. Because this color is so dark, I'm going to want to run it for probably 3 or 4 minutes. Now that timing will change depending on, let me move this a little off to the side, depending on what you've put in your resin, how strong your lamp is. But keep in mind, you can also cure outside. So this lamp is UV light, and the original UV light comes from the sun. So if it's a sunny day, you can leave it on a sunny windowsill and it will cure in 5 to 10 minutes beautifully in the sun. Even on a cloudy day, you will get a cure. It just will take longer. All right, so while that's going, I'm going to show you an example of another earring using that same mold. See, that turned off. I'm going to turn it on again. This uses the same mold. And instead of just pouring one color, we poured 3 colors. This was for a Christmas class that we did last year. And we just carefully tried to pour those colors in 3 different segments. And then use just gold for the top. And you see that those are connected with a jump ring. So we'll show you how to connect them and also how to add this part onto it, which of course goes through the ear. That's another example of something that comes from this mold. Also, while it's going, I'm going to show you another thing here. This was a graduation class that we did with this big flat disc. And this design that you see on the front there is a sticker. And so we just kind of entrapped that sticker inside the resin. It is a metallic sticker, so you can see it shine. So this product does not go into the oven. It only cures in UV light. So you can leave it out on your work surface under regular fluorescent light, incandescent light, and it will not cure. It will stay liquid for as long as you want it to stay liquid until it's exposed to UV light. So it does give you some playtime. You can leave it, go away, come back. It's still going to be liquid. You can still work with it, and it will not cure unless you want it to. So those UV lights are available at Michaels, as is everything that we're working with in this class and on michaels.com. All right, so that went another time. I turned it back on. And also while that's going, I don't know if you can see, but I spilled a little bit of glitter here. I'm going to give you another pro tip. Use tape to clean up glitter. It is really the best way because nothing else works quite as well. So you can clean up that tape and throw it away. That's also how you can clean up glitter out of any of your silicone pieces. All right, so that's gone for 2 times. Let's just take a look here. So I can see as I push on it that that is no longer liquid, but I'm not convinced that that light has reached the bottom. So I'm going to do a little trick here and flip that over, and I'm just going to let that go for another minute flipped over. Normally, I would not have to cure so many times. It's just because this is a very, very dark piece and it's got a lot of glitter in there. Another question in the comments is, does it bend? And the answer is no. Here, let me show you this piece. It comes out, I mean, it is hard like glass, and it doesn't really have any bend to it. So, yeah, it doesn't have any bend to it. When you first take it out of the mold, though, it is going to be warm. That is one of the byproducts of kind of the curing process is warmth. And so if I touch this, it feels warm a little bit. And so when it's still warm, it will be slightly bendy, but then as it cools, it'll be fine. Now you can see, if I turn it this way, it is slightly depressed in there because I didn't fill it the whole way. And so to do that, I'm going to leave it right where it is. I'm going to put a little bit of a clear layer on the back. So this is a great way to stretch your tints too. You can always fill the backs with clear. And again, going in here, just making sure that layer got everywhere I wanted it to be. And let's cure that. All right, while that's going, I am going to show you some other molds so you can get your creative juices flowing here. I showed you the ring mold and kind of what that makes. We also have a hoop earring mold. So this makes wonderful hoop earrings in two different sizes, one that's large and one medium, also a little depression there to make some stud earrings. And so let me grab, I have a bunch of these over here to the side. So here I have a bunch of hoop earrings. Let's do this so I can get in there. And so this is just clear with some fruity polymer clay slices in there. This one has some dried flowers, kind of like dried flower confetti in there. This is just one solid color. Nothing wrong with doing that. You could make one to match every color of the rainbow. Solid color. This has some other confetti in it. And this confetti, I'll save that and tell you what that is, but it's actually pieces of old resin. We have some seed beads that you can pour into a mold and make a beautiful seed bead earring, no stringing required. And then, of course, just some really fun chunky glitter. So you can see there's a wide variety of things that you can use to mix in to the resin. All right, so this has been going for about a minute. Let's see what we have here. Now there's some warmth to it, but see, I can push it out. And this is what I get. And now it's not perfect because I went a little crazy with that clear layer, but I'm going to show you how to fix it. This is exactly how it comes out of the mold. We've got a little bit of extra flash parts there. So let me show you how you can perfect it. So you want to get some type of a little nipper. You can just kind of nip off any resin that kind of overflowed a little bit. Oops. And you'll find that it like wants to separate from it. Here we had a little overflow, even along this edge. See, when I snap it, it like snaps just perfectly off of there. Okay. If you have rough edges, you can go on in with an emery board and clean up those rough edges. I like this emery board because it gets in the little parts. Okay, so you could spend all day just making it perfect, but let's continue with that earring topper. So here is the earring topper that we're trying to make. As I mentioned, we are going to repurpose this ring mold and use the back of this. And for this one, we are going to use some dried flowers. The dried flowers are also sold at Michael's in the exact same spot. I'm going to open up this new package. Here it is with that card removed, and you see that there is like another little acetate here. I keep these because this is a wonderful way to store the flowers. This is something that keeps all the moisture, a desiccant, I think that's called, keeps the moisture out. But I store my flowers like this. I like put this lid back on and then I can stack a bunch of them up and it keeps them organized. So inside here we have some greenery, and I think this calls for a tweezer. So you want to be careful with these. They are very delicate. And what I'm looking for is this flower. This is like a, oh gosh, what do you call that flower? Like a lace flower? All right, so I have my flowers ready. I'm going to use this hole on the back side of my ring. And I'm going to go in just with clear for now and put a light, um, just a light layer in there. I'm going to encourage that to go to the sides with my wood stick and just keeping a little bit of resin on the stick. I'm going to pick up that flower. And I can look at the flower and make sure, well, I mean, it looks good on both sides. But I want to, if I see a difference, I want to put, well, maybe I want to put this one. I want to put the good side down. And gently place it in there and kind of tap so that I know that it's settled in there. So for this topper, we're actually going to cure it in 2 layers. We're going to cure this clear layer first, and then on the back of it, we're going to put our dark resin. All right, so let's clear that. And while we do that, I can share with you some of my favorite dried flower projects that we've ever done here. Here we go. This is a bangle bracelet. I have a whole bunch of these bangle bracelets over here showing different materials that you can use inside there. We have seed beads again. We have some, oh, there's 2 of the same one. We have some sort of confetti. We have some candy sprinkles, more of these fruit slices, and here's those dried flowers. I have shown this pair of earrings on so many classes because I think that they're so beautiful. You can see how you can lay the flowers in there just perfectly with a clear back. All right, so this one went for 1 minute. It turned off. That's all we need for that layer. It's just to lock it into place, making sure that that flower doesn't move. So I'm going to bring back my dark resin, give it a little stir just to make sure it's still all incorporated. And I'm going to fill that up. Remembering that what we see here is actually the back. Okay. All right, and moving this off to the side. Now, when I move it off to the side, because I want to save that for the next project, I'm moving it far from this light. I do not want that to cure inside there. And so let's get some findings ready. If you don't already have a big old package of jump rings, this is a great investment to make. You are going to use a lot of jump rings in jewelry making. So we are going to need a jump ring to connect. We are also going to need an earring back. And that can look something like one of these. It's 2 different sizes of the same thing. This is the part that goes through your ear. We're going to need that. And we're going to need a drill because we need to drill a hole in that top piece so that we have something to connect to. And this is the little hand drill that we're going to use. I'm going to give that another. What size jump ring am I using? I think this is about an 8 mm jump ring here. I chose the larger size because this is quite thick and I need to get it around both pieces. But this is the hand drill. This is what you use to drill out a hole where you need one. You may find pieces that have multiple connection points. And I'll give you an example. This is another Christmas earring where we did a row of little discs. And each one of those discs needed to have 2 holes so that it could connect to its neighbor. Well, the bottom one, the red one, only has one hole because that's the bottom piece. All right, we're just letting this go a little bit longer. And let's see what we have. Now I can see that it's not done. I popped that out because I'm impatient and I can see that it's not done. So I hope that I didn't mess it up. Please forgive me if I did because I am so impatient and I wanted to go to the next project. How about let's show some more cute stuff while that's going. How do you know for sure when it's done? Well, when it's no longer liquid. And I could see when I popped that up that there was still a little bit of the black liquid. Yeah, so it'll be completely hardened. Let me show you some other, all of the sort of extra projects that I'm showing you off to the side. These probably come from older classes that we've done. If you go on Michael's YouTube page, you can see all of those classes. We have done dozens and dozens of UV resin classes. This is a piece that we did for a fall class a couple years ago. And these leaves came out of a mold. And you can see we put a bunch of different colors down in there and kind of just rolled the dice. And it ended up being very beautiful. Okay, that one again. I'm going to flip that over and go one more time. The other thing that I'll mention is, okay, so I said that this class is all done with silicone molds. The other most popular way to work with UV resin is to work with bezels. Bezels are a metal frame. This is a graduation keychain that we made. So the metal frame just is a different design choice. Here's another piece. This is a little necklace, a very simple necklace we made with the bezel. So some people like to work with a bezel. It might make it look a little more, I don't know, grown up a little bit to have a bezel. So it's just really up to you. All right, so this has gone for another couple minutes. Let's pop this out. This is what we have. So I can see that I was a little impatient. I tried to pop it out before it was fully done. So some of that dark glitter kind of, I don't know, can you see if let's see if I can make this. No, I can't. Some of that dark glitter came on top of the flowers. It doesn't look terrible, but it does obscure a little bit of that flower. It kind of makes it look like a little bit of an ombre on top of the flower. All right, so let me show you how to finish. So you are going to want to glue this to the back because that is the part that's going to go into your ear. And we glue it by using more UV resin. It is a wonderful way to connect two different materials together. And I just need a tiny little drop of it there. And I'm going to put that, I just made sure that that resin gets kind of up over the lip of it. And I'm going to look underneath because I want to position this just so. You can also use your wood stick, kind of move that. I'm placing it toward the top of the shape. And let's cure that down. So as I said, UV resin is a wonderful adhesive to stick metal to resin, metal to metal, plastic to metal, glass to metal. So a lot of different materials can be connected by UV resin. My husband is a scale modeler and he uses UV resin to create all different kinds of connections between his pieces. All right, so I'm going to let that go. And we're going to put this off to the side a little bit here. We're going to do that final connection in a little bit. So I'm going to actually switch to the next earring. And for that, we're going to need to mix up some white. So I'm going to bring in a fresh cup here, keeping this far from the light. In fact, I'm going to move that over this way because I don't want those beams to hit this. All right, we are going to get some more UV resin here. Going in with the clear, and here we're going to use the white tint. Giving it a little shake. I'm just going to start with 2 drops, mix that up, and kind of see if I like how opaque it looks. So you can see it getting kind of milky. It's not quite opaque. I would caution you against tinting it completely opaque because again, this is a light cured product. And if that light can't reach through those opaque layers, you're going to have a problem with curing. So even so, I'm going to add 1.5 more drops of white tint. All right, that's about as opaque as I like to take the white. You can see semi-transparent, semi-translucent. Somebody knows the difference between those terms. Let me know in the comments. Okay. All right, let's bring in our next mold, which is this beautiful earring mold. And this is the same mold that these earrings that I showed you earlier came from here. And, oh, I can see I didn't stir this quite well enough. Let's get that fully incorporated. Okay, so another pro tip, I can see maybe some dust or maybe some little bits of glitter that I didn't fully wash out of this mold. And again, just use a little bit of Scotch tape and that can really clean that up because whatever dust or cat hair or anything that you have in your mold, it's going to get into your earring. And unless you want it to, it might not be the look you're going for. All right, so that looks perfectly clean to me. Okay, so for this, I am going to drop alternating drops of my black and white. So I thought I saw a comment that said, if you mix it together, isn't it gray? What we're trying to achieve here is a marbled look. So we don't want the black and white to mix completely. We still want to see areas of black, areas of white. So I'm making some blobs with the white. And I'm going to go in with the black. And I am not doing this with any particular idea in mind of placement, just trying to make sure that where I see it's all white, I'm going to add a little bit of black. And see, this has an area of black, so I'm going to add a little bit of white. And I'm just going to keep alternating until this mold is filled. I think I need a little more black down here. Maybe 1 drop in there. So this looks cool exactly as it is. I think that looks cool, modern, fun. But this is technically the back of the earring. If I really want to see what it looks like, I have to pick this up and look underneath. And underneath is decidedly a little more tame than this. So here you want to go in with a toothpick, a wood stick, something pointy, and just do some swirlies. And we don't want to mix this completely. We just want to have it look a little more marbled. And if you see any bubbles, like I see a little bubble right there, I can try to pop it or I can try to pull it out, which I did. All right, this is looking kind of cool. Don't overwork it. I want to overwork it. I keep Trying to stop myself. This is cool. Let's lock it down. Let's put it underneath the light and go back to this piece. All right, so this earring back is securely on there. You can see I'm wiggling it. It is not moving. We need to create a hole down here in order for this to connect correctly. So I'm going to use my drill. And I do have two drills here that I have two different size nibs. This one is the larger one, which will have to be okay. And I'm trying to line it up. You want it to line up with that earring back that you already put on. All right, and so you just place and you start twisting. And it really gets through there pretty easily. Gosh. Let me get my, there we go. This one here in the back is gone for 1 minute. Let's put it on for another minute. And we're going to get our jewelry tools out. Here's our 8mm jump ring. So to use a jump ring, each jump ring has a break. I have situated it up at the top. And I am just going to use, like I have two pliers. One is my hands, and open it up, bringing one plier toward me and one away. So that is the open jump ring. Go through your shape. And I'm thinking that I need actually an even larger jump ring, because as I put it through here, I can tell that this isn't going to be large enough. Let's see what I have. One moment, please. I may not have the size jump ring that I need, so we might need you to use your imagination. So you're going to need quite a large jump ring. I'd say at least 10mm, because you need to span this distance, still leaving a little bit here so that this has some movement to it. This 8mm jump ring isn't quite large enough to do that. So I would say you need about 10mm or larger, and that will connect the two. So let me show you on this one. This is our final one, how it looks when it's connected correctly. All right. So forgive me for that. I think 8mm is the largest one I have here at my craft desk. Okay, so this one is still curing underneath there. And what we're going to need to do next to it is add the earring back. And the earring back that you should be adding to that one is quite small. I'll show you the two that I have. This one is 6mm, but the one that you need is 4mm right here, because that will be small enough to fit on the edge. I'll show you an example. Here's another hoop earring that we made. So you can see that edge is quite small. And so you need something with a small pad on it to be able to fit. So we are going to use this. All right, let's see how we're doing here. Just going to pop that right out. Now this is still warm, so it does have a little bit of movement to it. You can see that side's not quite as pretty as this side. You can see I have a little bit of extra there. I don't know if you can see that, but let's snip that little extra little nubbin off. There we go. And so we are going to hear this. The thing that I didn't tell you in our supply rundown is this blue thing that I have is actually a silicone mat. I highly recommend working on a silicone mat because if you spill your resin out, as I did on another class, I accidentally spilled a whole bunch of it, it will just cure in place and you can take it right off. All right, so because this is silicone, I could just put a little dollop of UV resin directly on there. And I'm going to hold this with a pair of pliers just because it's a little easier. Get some UV resin on there. And I'm going to place this exactly where I want it, on the edge. When I have that placed perfectly, I can bring the light to it and just hold that in place until it grabs. And it grabs in, I'd say about 10 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds. So you can see me moving it around. I just want to make sure that that light's hitting everywhere. There are other forms of UV lights, one of which is a flashlight form. Flashlights are really great for doing pieces like this, where you're bringing the light to the piece. So just keep that in mind. Michael's also carries that. All right, so that grabbed. I'm just going to set it down and let it cure the rest of the way. And while it does, I will show you some other cool stuff. It is a very cool technique to combine two molds into one, which we did with this monogram pendant. We made the little disc in one mold and used the letters as another mold and then stuck them together. Same idea with this ring. Made a ring separately from the little butterfly and stuck them together with more UV resin and then put this little rhinestone on the front of it. So this is another pro tip. You can combine molds into one thing. All right, so I think that is just about cooked. Here we have our earring back. Put that on. And there you go. It's ready to wear. Just a few minutes, you have a custom earring. This side looks more like marble, but I like this side more with the swirlies. All right, so we are going to get started on our very last project. And just so you know, this little piece, let me show you how easy it is to clean up. So easy. Move that off to the side. Okay, so for this last pair of earrings, it's the most difficult one, but you can do it. I have faith in you. We're going to use some wire. Let me show you those earrings again. And the wire allows you to create sections inside the mold. So we can section off a black section, a white section. And so this is 22 gauge wire. You do want to use a thicker wire. I wouldn't suggest anything thinner than 22 gauge. And you have to decide where you want that to be. So if you want it to go kind of diagonal this way or straight across, if I'm going to do diagonal, I need a piece of wire about this big. So I'm kind of laying it down, taking my wire cutters, and that just flew across the room. Okay, let's do it again. This time, we're going to hold on to it so we don't lose it. Cut it about right there. So that's a little piece of wire. I'm going to cut another piece of wire that same size, approximately. And this is where pliers will come in real handy. So you can place it where you want it to go. And now when you place this piece of wire in there, be very mindful that it is touching both of the walls, this wall and this wall. Otherwise, that resin's going to creep. So I'm trying to place it in there just perfectly. Oop, so that it's making contact. All right, this one's slightly smaller. Let's put it right here. And here's where you bring your creativity to it. I kind of like those segments, those 3 segments. All right, let's go back to our black and white. Now our black resin, we only have a tiny bit left, but I don't think you're going to need any more than that. Let's start with it. All right, so I'm going to put that in the top and bottom sections. And this time I'm going to be very, very careful and just drop it 1 drop at a time. Kind of along the edge of that wire. I don't want to go over the wire. And when I feel like I have it where I want it to be, I'm going to bring that light in right away. This is going to stop the leakage from underneath because it's going to lock it in place right away. I'll continue to build up little by little. Right now, instead of a thin layer, I'm just doing a few drops so I can kind of establish a border there and not give it time to seep under my wire. I'm just going to freeze that in place by curing it right away. We're going to cure multiple times along this process. And I don't need to let it go many minutes. I'm going to let this go probably even less than 1 minute and then keep adding. All right, so that was about 45 seconds. So now I know that I've already established this line here. I can fill the rest of this in as needed. So let's do that. And I don't need to go up to the top of the mold. I can fill the back of the mold with clear. All right, so that's solid. Let's work on this bottom bit here. Just placing a couple drops right alongside that wire. And curing it right away. This is the best way I've found to do this. I struggled with this technique, and I'm going to show you a couple of my struggles as soon as I find them. I was trying to make a candy corn for Halloween, and it was all going well until my middle section seeped under my white section. I love this idea of doing the same color in clear and in glitter, but you can see how that was a little messy. But we learn from our mistakes. All right, so that went for our partial minutes. This is what we have so far. And I'm going to fill this middle section in with white. Not a ton of white, just a little bit, because I would rather fill the back of this with clear. Let's let the white go right up to that line. Maybe 1 more drop, just so you can get non-transparent. All right, lock it in. So you can see the reason this is more of an advanced technique is it requires working in stages and curing a little bit at a time. And it also requires a new jewelry skill that I'll teach you, which is creating this topper, which is using a bead. So while this is curing, I'm going to move it off to the side. Let's make that little topper. Okay, for that, I need some beads of your choice and some findings. The finding that we're using is called an eye pin. This is it right here. It's called that because it has an eye here at the top. And so the same technique is how you turn any bead into a connector. Connector is something you can connect to other things. So I just string it right on the eye pin. And here you're going to need a special jewelry plier called a round nose plier. And so I grab that right at the top. Let's move these out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Put that right at the top and bend it over 90 degrees like that. And now we are going to trim it to, I like mine at exactly about 3/8 of an inch, somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 of an inch. I'll just trim that off. So you have this. And now I go in with my round nose pliers right at the tip here and twist them back on itself. This creates that loop shape. And then when you can't do it anymore, let go and pull it again. And then you have a loop at the top and the bottom. All right, so this went for 2 minutes. I'm going to fill the back with just clear. Trying not to overfill. Going in with my stick just to make sure it got to all of the edges. If you have overfilled your mold a little bit, you can use this side of the wood stick to kind of just lift some out into your paper towel. Kind of wipe it off. It's the easiest way to remove excess. Okay, cure it. Okay, while that's curing, we'll assemble the rest of our earring. Here's our example. So we have our connector piece. We're going to need a jump ring. Not even. We'll need a jump ring for the cured piece. And then we are going to need an ear wire for the top. This is your standard French ear wire. There are plenty of ear wires out there for your own artistic vision. And the way we connect those together is we pretend that this loop here is a jump ring. We open it like we would open a jump ring, slide this on, close it up. All right, now this is ready to connect to our piece. Let's give that one more. And while that's going, we are wrapping up here. If you have any burning questions, now is the time to ask. I'm going to show you a couple other things while that's curing. Here is another interesting use of the wire technique. Here we were able to create kind of like feathers inside of a clear piece of resin that's using wires and filling them with different colors. And then I'll show you these. This was from a Christmas class that we did. We segmented, we made these like little mini ornaments, segmented inside of bezels, and we're able to fill those kind of like a stained glass look with all different glittery colors. So that wire technique is really great. You might have to practice it a few times, but you'll get it. One more that I'll show you. This was from our 4th of July class. We used seed beads and laid them down inside of a mold, poured a bunch of resin, and you can make a flag. All right, so that went for 2 minutes. Let's see what we got here. So it is still warm, so it's slightly bendy, but let's get that out. Here we go. And now I did commit the ultimate sin because there must have been one piece of gold glitter. Can you guys see that? It's right here. One piece of gold glitter inside that mold that I didn't get out. And so it is forever embedded in this earring. Let's connect these together. All right, jump ring. And I'm actually going to choose a larger jump ring. Let's get the biggest one. So it's our 8 mm. Open that up. Connect that to our bead connector. And then connect the whole thing to our piece that we just made. And close it up. This is what we got. So there, I have room for improvement. I feel like I didn't get a sharp enough edge right there. I would want to see that a little sharper. I have this one piece of gold glitter that you may or may not be able to see. But I think this gives you a really great idea of the possibilities of using that wire technique inside molds. So thank you everyone for joining us. We do these classes every month on UV resin. We also teach classes on polymer clay jewelry making. If you're interested in doing that, that is something you do have to bake in your oven. But come back and join us. We love to talk about jewelry making. We hope to see you next time. Thanks a lot, guys.